In today's video, we'll take a look at Japan's miraculous development story. How did a country that was completely destroyed after World War II become one of the most developed, safest, and most technologically advanced nations in the world today? Let's explore this incredible transformation together by looking at both history and present-day reality. When World War II ended in 1945, Japan had literally turned into ruins. Many major cities, including Tokyo, had been heavily bombed. Buildings were destroyed, factories were knocked out, roads, ports, and infrastructure were severely damaged. The country's economy had collapsed, production had dropped to a minimum, and the population was in a very weak condition, both physically and psychologically. People were struggling with food shortages, unemployment, and poverty. Store shelves were empty, there was almost no functioning industry, and agriculture was not enough to fully feed the country. The psychological impact of the war was also very serious. An entire generation had lost its hope and was living with deep uncertainty about the future. However, despite all these difficulties, this situation was not the end of Japan's story. On the contrary, it became the beginning of a new and very powerful chapter. After the war, under the leadership of the United States, a series of fundamental reforms were carried out in Japan. These reforms radically changed both the structure of the state and Japanese society. A new constitution was adopted in the country. This constitution transformed Japan into a more democratic and more open society. A democratic system of government was established. The parliamentary system was strengthened, and citizens' rights began to be better protected. Land reforms were implemented. Land was taken from large feudal families who owned vast areas and was redistributed among farmers. This increased justice in rural regions and gave people more motivation to work. The education system was renewed. Modern curricula were introduced in schools, and the literacy rate rose rapidly. The younger generation began to receive a much better education, and this laid the foundations for Japan's later economic growth. As a result of these reforms, a strong foundation was formed within society. People gained more freedom and more opportunities to realize their abilities, and everyone started working together to rebuild the country. Between the 1950s and 1970s, Japan experienced an incredible period of economic growth. This era is often called the Japanese economic miracle. In a relatively short time, a devastated country turned into one of the world's strongest economies. There were several key reasons behind this miracle. The Japanese people were extremely hardworking and disciplined. The government carried out long-term economic planning and supported industry. Huge investments were made in technology, scientific research, and education. Exports to foreign markets, especially to the United States, grew rapidly. During this period, Japan became known worldwide thanks to many brands. Automobile manufacturers like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, famous for their reliable and fuel-efficient cars, electronics giants like Sony and Panasonic, producing radios, televisions, and audio-video equipment, and in general, high-quality yet reasonably priced products. In this way, Japan became one of the leading countries in the world in terms of both industrial power and technological innovation. When you visit Japan today, you can feel that the hardships of the post-war era are long gone, yet history is still very much alive. Tokyo is a city of huge skyscrapers, neon-lit streets, electronics shops, advanced technology, and fast, dynamic urban life. Kyoto and Nara, on the other hand, are full of ancient temples, traditional wooden houses, quiet streets, and peaceful places where thousand-year-old culture is still preserved. Shinkansen is Japan's high-speed rail system. It is famous for its punctuality and comfort. Trains run with almost second-by-second precision. The streets of Japan are very clean, and the crime rate is very low. People generally respect rules, behave calmly in public spaces, and show consideration for those around them. On the other hand, work life in Japan is very demanding. Many people work long hours. This supports social discipline and the country's high productivity. But at the same time, it can also create a tiring lifestyle. One of the things that makes Japan special is that thousand-year-old traditions and cutting-edge technology exist side by side. On one side, you see people wearing kimonos, traditional tea ceremonies, sumo wrestling and ancient martial arts, wooden temples, historical gardens, and quiet Zen spaces. On the other side, you find robots and artificial intelligence, anime and manga culture, streets full of neon lights, futuristic architecture, and giant glass buildings. For example, while walking around Tokyo, you might come across a very old, peaceful temple on one street. Just a few blocks away, you can find yourself standing in front of a super-modern skyscraper made entirely of glass. This sharp contrast makes Japan an even more fascinating destination for travelers. The fact that a country devastated after World War II has become one of the most developed, safest, and technologically advanced states in the world today shows how strong Japan's willpower, discipline, and culture truly are. If you're thinking about traveling to Japan, there you'll be able to experience history, culture, and technology all at the same time, closely intertwined. In this video, we were able to share at least a little information about Japan. To catch the next videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video.